This is the Mike DJ Kelly podcast. This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
Mike Kelly.
Hello pod pickers, are we rock, eddy, steady, ready to go? Then let's launch into what can only be described as another mighty audio adventure and 15 minutes of free fun-filled nuttiness with no awkward medical questions. Let's press the green button and get going with the very latest, shorter than short, Mike DJ Kelly podcast show. So on with the show, with stuff you won't hear on the radio. Did you know the first signs of madness is to hear a large big dog barking in the distance? Here's a question. Why is the word short longer than the word long?
On this week's podcast.
Good question. This is what's on the show, my friends. Coming up, plants, Premier League, pandemic, Leeds Music College, cranes, Hovis, and a whole lot more, but not necessarily in that order.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Out there on the internet, social media and in the papers we have the following. Sir Geoffrey boycott, early birthday present, soon to be 80. My state pension is to increase by 25 pence a week. Which gormless idiot thought that one up? How's it going to help? Can't even buy a pack of chewing gum with that. Laura Smith, why does it take 4 months of hard graft to lose £5 and then one piece of cheesecake and a glass of wine to put on £6? Joe Wolfe, if pubs are not giving out beer mats anymore, what is the government using to draft its COVID plans on? Martin Kellner, solution to economic disaster of 10 p.m. restaurant curfew, entire nation converts to Yorkshire dining regime, dinner at noon, tea at 5 p.m. Calla Walsh, I'm a 16-year-old part-time minimum wage worker and I pay more income tax than the billionaire president of the United States. Not just you, Carla, I all pay more.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
So MI5 are setting up a new left-wing terrorism unit that'll be Cormann and McDonnell locked up by Christmas. Sounds like all the UK phone networks are going to have to remove the Huawei bits from their network. I bet my former employers are keeping quiet about how many staff they sent on trips to China. Some are suggesting scrapping HS2 as the need to commute has dropped massively with everybody working from home. They say if it's scrapped, the money saved would be a third of the cost of dealing with the pandemic. Gets my vote. Talking of which, how did Johnson and Trump get elected? What are their redeeming features that made people vote for them? When I see and hear them, I cannot work out how they got the gig. Would it make sense for the time being to drop the great and just call us UK or Britain until the pandemic and Brexit and all other issues are sorted?
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Competition time. What song are these lines from? Showers, your love comes in showers, and every hour on the hour, you let me feel your loving power. What song are these lines from? Showers, your love comes in showers, and every hour on the hour, you let me feel your loving power. Name the song or the artiste. Answers later. Came across a takeaway that I've not used before, dealing in Mediterranean food. It's called Greek Me Up. Love the name. Talking of names, where I live, the music college was called the Leeds Music Centre, the City of Leeds College of Music and the Leeds College of Music, but now it's been hidden and given a new name. Not sure why. Fortunately, you can still find it by searching Leeds College of Music. The new name is Leeds Conservatoire. Not sure why, not exactly saying what it does on the tin.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Remember, it's not the NHS Test and Trace, it's the Serco Test and Trace, with mastermind Dido Hardings in charge. Getting more and more confused by lockdown, no longer allowed to have the kids come round to our house, but I can get a bus and a taxi and meet them in a pub or a restaurant with other people. Who really thinks that is safer than coming round to our house for food and not involving all those other people who we do not know or need to be in contact with? Anyway, on COVID, does it spread differently in different weather conditions when you're outside? Is it more rampant on hot sunny days than cold winter ones? When it's windy, does an infected person spread it further? Just asking. Apparently, the missing COVID data for the Serco Test and Trace app was due to a computer glitch. Do you think that is true? Surely computers do what you tell them to do. They don't make decisions about what data to use unless they've been programmed to do. But whatever the system does is due to the way it's been set up. It was a person or a team, not a glitch. Just a thought, but when passing an extremely high crane the other day, I did wonder what happens if the operative is caught short. Is there a bathroom up there? What happens if they get taken ill? There's a lot of ladders to negotiate to get back to planet Earth. And another thought, why do dogs get a stonker on when food is around? However hungry I've been, that's never been an issue. Mamma mia! Hovis has been bought by the Italians. Will old Ma Peggotty still be able to get a bread delivered? According to the 1973 award-winning commercial, she lived at the top of Golden Hill in Shaftesbury, Dorset. Hovis, the high-wheat German wholemeal flour bread, was invented in 1886 and named Hovis in 1890 when Herbert Grime won £25 in a competition to give it a name. It became a household bread when R.H. Rank Hovis McDougall got a hold of it, but it's had several owners since.
This is the Short of the Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Okay, pod pickers, if you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Short of the Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us. And if you want to send your own stories for the next episode, email cuttings or sound clips to email hello@MikeDJKelly.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. Nice reviews on Apple are always welcome if you can spare the time. And remember, you can get the Mike DJ Kelly Short of and Short podcast from all the usual podcast stores.
This is the Short of and Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Last time I mentioned you don't hear the word osmosis mentioned much these days, and then just hours later on the telly I heard Bob's your uncle and Fanny's your aunt. You hear that even less these days.
This is the Short of and Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Today's do-gooders are Scope, who can be found at scope.org.uk. We're a strong community of disabled and non-disabled people with a shared vision of equality. We provide practical advice and emotional support whenever people need them most. We do this through our Scope helpline, our online community, a range of employment and child sleep services, community engagement programs, and more. All of our services are developed to achieve our strategy, everyday equality. We use our collective power to change attitudes and end injustice, and we campaign relentlessly to create a fairer society. Find out more at scope.org.uk. And the not so much do-gooders are OpenReach, who look after the nation's internet and phone connections. Where I live, we can only have basic internet from any supplier because BT OpenReach need to upgrade a box. But they will not do this unless they get enough vouchers or funding. I pay EE £29 a month. They are owned by BT. BT operates OpenReach. Bit like going to a restaurant in my postcode and being told you can only have burgers. If you want steak or chicken, you'll need to contact the farmer. Do you think the Vax vacuum cleaner advert that mentions a brushless motor will confuse customers? Will they think they're getting a vacuum cleaner without brushes? Unless, of course, if they know that brushes in this sense are made of carbon and are in the actual motor. Has anyone ever seen Hal Crittenden and Martin Roberts in the same room at the same time? It took the post office a long time to recognise its Horizon IT system was faulty. It took many years of postmasters losing their businesses and with several being sent to jail. Somebody could have checked if it was working correctly years ago. Another computer glitch, I imagine. Guess the celebrity. Born on the 27th of October 1939 in Weston-super-Mare. Works as a screenwriter, actor, writer, comedian, stage actor, voice actor, film director, film producer, television actor, film actor, autobiographer. Was married to Connie Booth and starred in A Fish Called Wanda. Who is he? So let's move on to radio. With all the changes there have been to commercial radio recently, we're now starting to see a crop of app-based radio stations setting up. Like this is Coast at Scarborough and Rombolds in Ilkley. Not heard the Scarborough station, but heard Rombolds quite a bit, and particularly like listening to Elisa Hilton on an evening. Great natural presenter. With so many DJs being made redundant redundant when the rather bland Greatest Hits radio came along, it's strange that a lot of these app-based stations are using the same presenters. I've seen 2 presenters on Twitter recently announcing they're doing 3 4-hour shows in one day on different stations. So Greatest Hits is, as near as damn it, the same output on every local commercial radio station, and now the new replacement pop-up stations are doing the same thing by using the same presenters on all their stations. Don't get it. The world's gone crazy. Talking of crazy things, that MP Charles Walker doesn't sound to be particularly nice.
This is the Short of the Short, Mike Kelly podcast.
If you want to get in touch with this top-rated, much-listened-to podcast, please contact by email hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business or need any help with radio producer or presentation work, please get in touch. You can always get the Mike DJ Kelly podcast by going to iTunes or Spotify and searching Mike DJ Kelly, or you could fill your lockdown time by sending a text to your friends and telling them about the Short of and Short podcast. Quotes and cuts of this show may be used, but remember, all material has to be got from somewhere, and somebody has to put time and effort into getting it to you, so please credit us.
This is the Short of the Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Out there on Twitter, Rob Orton, has anybody got a hand dryer in their house? It's not illegal, is it? We just all agreed not to do it. Ken Clark, I don't think it's the real one. Surprised to hear the Chancellor calling for musicians to retrain and get new jobs, when you look at what a mess the singer Dido is making of the NHS track and trace. Chris Smith, for those folks not familiar with Excel or databases, running a large database on Excel is the equivalent of building a house to live in out of Lego. It's possible, but only an idiot would do it. Sue, no, I'd rather lick 9-volt batteries. Krish Kandaya, 60% of British people live within 20 miles of where they lived when they were 14. Ian Parsons, I earned a magnificent 5p interest on my ISA last month. Banks really are taking us for fools, aren't they?
This is the Short of the Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
So the Eton head confirms every pupil had a coronavirus test on arriving at the school. Imagine a country where every child and teacher had access to private tests. Saw this in The Guardian. This is interesting. Plants that suck carbon out of the air while they're growing as food could be a real possibility. Biologists are developing greenery that they say has super carbon removing powers. Another story says in 2 years' time, thousands of tourists and space enthusiasts could be gathering in the far north of Scotland, the Mahone Peninsula in Sutherland, a desolate stretch of peatland overlooking the Pentland Firth. Why, you ask? Well, it's been chosen as the site for one of the UK's first space ports, well, provided it wins the support from the Civil Aviation Authority. And staying with interesting stories, a lot of people airing their support on social media for the Premier League's idea to charge £14.95 on pay-to-view to watch matches that are played behind closed doors. Also on social media, I see Johnny Marr is not too keen on Rishi Sunak's suggestion that people in the arts should retrain. Well, I say he's not keen, he's downright furious. Strangely, I was thinking about training and the government not taking the advice the scientists gave them about a circuit breaker lockdown. The scientists are trained and qualified to make their decisions. In what way are the government trained to make them? Sad to see that Frank Windsor Higgins has passed on at the age of 92. Better known as Frank Windsor, he played Detective Sergeant John Watt in Z-Cars from 1962 to 1965 and its spin-off Softly Softly. Two of the main programmes I watched as a kid on the old black and white valve-powered box in the corner. He's had roles in many shows, but some of the more recent ones were in the BBC drama Casualty, the ITV drama Peak Practice. He also played Major Charlie Grace in EastEnders and appeared twice in Doctor Who. R.I.P.
This is the Short of the Short, Mike Kelly Podcast.
I see the UK Prime Minister is claiming that COVID has not robbed him of his mojo. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, mojo means a quality that attracts people to you and makes you successful and full of energy. I say nothing, I'll let you decide. For me, mojos were a rectangular black sweet, individually wrapped and sold for 4 for a penny. That's an old penny, as in 12 to a shilling. And on things from a long time ago, I'm sure I remember on the forward-thinking TV show Tomorrow's World, they did at one point discuss that in the future you will not need to paint walls, as there will be a new paint that you paint it with and then connect to some sort of controller and you can change the colour. I suppose you could sort of do it if you wallpapered the wall with a thin LED film and change the colours in that way. But hey, where's the paint?
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Ordered some E27s and B22s this week. Yes, you're correct, light bulbs. The new energy-saving type, but do they save energy? They certainly use less electric than previous ones, but they do need replacing more often. My new ones say they will last for 30,000 hours. That's about 3 3/4 years, so not very long, and at nearly £3 each, not very cheap. So in 60 years, I would need 16. That's £48 for every light fitting. And how much waste would it create? The old glass filament bulb used to be 4 for a quid and lasted longer. We've been conned. The world's oldest recorded light bulb is located near San Jose in California, in the town of Livermore. The fire station is now the home of the oldest still working incandescent bulb in the world. The Sentinel light bulb, the lamp, was first installed in 1901 in the old fire station, where it stayed for 75 years. It was connected directly to the city's power and subjected to power surges. When the old fire station was demolished, it was removed to the current location in the new fire station. Don't forget, pod pickers, if you want to get in touch with anything to do about the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us. And if you have any stories for the next episode, email cuttings or sound clips to hello@MikeDJKelly.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. If you have the time, it would be appreciated if you could give us a review on iTunes.
This is the Shorter Than Short Podcast with Mike Kelly.
Okay, and the late news. Let's see if it's up there. Missing Vernon Kay or Les Dennis on Family Fortunes, who, in their right minds, thought this new presenter format would work. On Twitter, Arthur Smith. Look, I know this is going to upset some people and will lose me followers, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't really like lentils. Terrible that Citroën know of a software fault with their radio media centres in their vehicles, but they do not tell owners about it. You have to search for the answer and then find out how to do the software upgrade. SMEG, what does it mean? Yep, you're right, that's what I thought. SMEG is an Italian manufacturer of upmarket domestic appliances. Vittorio Bettazzoni founded the company in 1948 in the village of Gastaglia in Reggio Emilia. Try searching SMEG in the Urban Dictionary for a whole new meaning. If you watch Emmerdale and Coronation Street, you'll be used to seeing people wearing face masks, and as soon as they meet others indoors, they remove them. Does this sort of mischievous TV help with ending the pandemic in a good way? A few people on Twitter commenting on the fact that if the Prime Minister had sacked Dominic Cumming after his Durham trip, what sort of mess would we now be in without his great master plan for how the UK should run? Guess the celebrity, born on the 27th of October 1939 in Weston-super-Mare, works as a screenwriter, actor, writer, comedian, stage actor, voice actor, film director, film producer, television actor, film actor, autobiographer, was married to Connie Booth and starred in A Fish Called Wanda. Who is he? John Marwood Cleese. What song are these lines from? Showers, your love comes in showers, and every hour on the hour you let me feel your loving power. It was Tavares. Heaven must be missing an angel. That's enough for this edition of the crazy Shorter Than Short Shabby podcast show. From me, Mike Kelly, thank you for listening. Please take care out there. And remember, you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting Mike DJ Kelly Podcast.
This is the Mike DJ Kelly Podcast. This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Mike Kelly.